Spoiler, upcoming melee weapon confirmed. Okay, now it hasn't been confirmed, but somebody was able to go into the data and find a melee weapon. And yes, we are going to talk about this. We're going to, at least I need somebody to help me understand what this thing even is. But that said, we were talking about adding a new melee weapon recently and how difficult it could be because of, new executions. That's something that devs basically pointed out themselves. However, it does seem that there is a melee weapon in the data of the game, which is basically, it could be cut content. Okay, so let's go into this with open minds. This is stuff that could be added to the game or maybe not. So that said, the devs already talked about adding a new melee weapon and they talked about the difficulties of it. So I do think that devs know more than they let on. Sometimes I think they, mention this stuff to basically control our expectations to make sure that we're not getting too hyped when we see leaks like this. This potentially could not be in the game, or it could not be added. Technically, it's already in the game, I guess. But that said, we were talking about melee weapons. Practically, we might not get any, especially with the new weapons in general. What did we find out? It was like 2 secondaries and 2 primaries. Well, that might not be all that accurate. Now, again, this is a spoiler, even though I kind of spoiled that we're getting we have the possibility of getting an upcoming melee weapon. But yes, we're going to go into it. I took a look at the picture already. I don't know what it is. So, yes, if you don't want to be spoiled on what type of melee weapon it is, you can click off the video now. And this is the melee weapon. This is the melee weapon. I'm not too sure what this is. It kind of reminds me of some sort of like battering ram. That said, I'm not too sure how big this thing is. I'm not too sure what class it'll go on. Obviously, Vanguard or Assault, because those are the melee classes. I mean, I could kind of see this with Bulwark. A shield and a battering ram would kind of be cool, but I'm not too sure what this thing is. I gotta be honest. However, you know what? Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I think this is an axe. Yes, this would be the handle. I think it's just the way that it is pretty much facing that definitely made me think it was a battering ram. This square here obviously would be something that would be taking out. Yeah, that makes sense. This square would be, basically this model isn't complete. The title here does say confirmed, but I don't think this is confirmed. I do think this is the axe that people were talking about that they had in Space Marine 1, maybe. But hey, that said, we were talking about the power axe. We all wanted it in the game. I do think some people mentioned that it was in Space Marines 1, so it is possible that they could just add it directly from, Space Marines 1 into 2, but they're obviously going to have to code some executions and stuff. The devs did mention that a melee weapon would be unlikely because of the, adding executions and stuff. But I believe that was before we had the, we had Games Workshop themselves come out and say they were impressed with the success of Space Marines 2. So something like a, like a power axe could be very possible. I can't believe I thought this was a battering ram. What am I doing? Oh my god. Yeah, but yeah, this is an axe. I can see this added to the game. Wow. I would be very happy about this. I did not know about this when we talked about what weapons they could add, but this is already in the data files. Like this is a data leak basically. That said, this could be cut content. They might not add this in the game at all. So saying it's confirmed is not 100% the entire story there. It's definitely not confirmed. The devs definitely gave us a hint on why it was so hard to add a melee weapon. So we're gonna have to let them cook. We're gonna have to let them cook on this. So far we've heard about 2 primaries and 2 secondaries for new weapons. This would be something that has not been revealed and also has not been added to the roadmap. So, I'm not getting too hyped. Just like the other leaks, don't get too hyped about it. But this is an axe in the files of the game that were leaked. Just a few of these leaks, which also, I'm not 100% sure how these leaks are coming about. But regardless, It's been 2 days. This post has been up. It has not been taken down. So, you know, it's enough to speculate, I guess. We could possibly see a new melee weapon in the game in form of an axe, which I would 100% be very down for. Honestly, oh my god, this would be so sick. But yes, again, control your hype. No, there's no confirmation on a new melee weapon yet. But this is what it would look like if it was confirmed. This would be sick. This would be sick. We definitely need a axe in the game. Now, I'm going to go into the reactions to this. Maybe we can learn a little bit more about this. But yes, let me know. Let me know how you guys feel about this power axe. If this is something that basically was a 1-for-1 in Space Marine 1. I'm basically saying is if this is the same model from Space Marine 1, you know, they didn't really do anything new with it with Space Marines 2 yet. So, you know, just make sure you control your expectations. But yes, let's go into the comments. Let's see what we can learn. Hopefully the perks aren't as boring as they are now for it. Wait, what do you mean? Do you mean the perks on the power axe? How do we know? What do you mean? Honestly, I like the melee perks. I don't know. I don't know. I definitely wanted to cover this, but yeah, I like the melee perks. At least not all of them, but some of them. You do 50% more damage to enemies with their backs turned to you between the times of 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. on a Sunday. Oh, jeez. That's funny. Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for these weapon perks to see if there's anything this tedious. I really hope not. Somebody said cooldown 3 minutes. No. Holy cow. Yeah, that is unlikely. That is unlikely. Melee weapon perks are some of the best perks we have. They straight up add new combo strings, allow you to build towards horde clear, stun lock, or single target damage, as well as flat out damage towards the end. Also, some melee perks as well also can nerf the enemy's damage, which is kind of like my favorite thing about that. That's one of my favorite perks for the power sword. The power rake basically gives enemies a 30% damage reduction. Something crazy. It's really strong. Oh no, that was the chainsword stomp one, I believe. Regardless, there's definitely some good melee perks. But for which classes? No Vanguard unit ever uses axes, but the Khorne Berserker must surely need it. Assault and Bulwark seems obvious. As a second option for tactical, not an obvious choice, but surely workable. Tactical getting a new melee weapon. I like the sound of it. I'm not 100% confident it will happen, but I like the sound of it. Assault and Bulwark seems obvious. Now, I'm gonna go on the record. If the Bulwark gets the power axe, that is going to be the only weapon I'm going to use on that class. The power axe and a shield with the Dark Angel skin. Oh my god, that looks so good. That would look so good, dude. And obviously I talked about the power axe before, and I actually like the idea of an axe with the assault class more than the chainsword, because something about like slamming down an axe compared to slamming down a sword, I don't know. I just think the axe feels like it has a lot more impact. It's more built for that sort of thing. Like a chainsword, I don't know. It feels like your fist hits the ground before the chainsword or something. It just, yeah, it doesn't really work for me. I could, you know, it's a nitpick, but yes, it's just something that comes across my mind as something that doesn't seem to work properly. I don't know. Maybe you could turn the sword upside down and slam it down and, like, you know, stake it into the ground or something. But that, yeah, that sounds wild. An axe is very simple. Boom, slam it on the ground. Boom, big axe damage. But yes, obviously a power axe on assault would be very cool. Bulwark, obviously it seems obvious apparently. And tactical, getting a new melee weapon, I like the sound of it. I just don't know if it's gonna happen. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see tactical get a new melee option, but it's not something that I particularly would put on top of my priority list. Can you imagine how much work it must be to add new weapons? The main look and skins, all the different unique executions for so many different enemies, the perk balance for PvE, class balance for PvP, even down to the motion capture of swinging a thing around. All right, yes, here's some reality. Melee weapons will definitely be a tough thing to add. However, I do think there is something to talk about here when it comes to the new executions. We did get new executions in the newest patch. So that wasn't something that was, you know, I feel like new executions wasn't on anybody's mind, really. However, that said, that is one of the things that push back the idea of a new melee weapon the most, is the new, basically getting unique executions. Now, the executions we got maybe were cut, maybe they were just a little bit late on arrival and they decided to just add it into a patch or something. That said, they definitely added new executions into the game already. So, it's a little bit more possible than it was before the patch to see them adding a new melee weapon. So, just wanted to point that out there. That's why I read this comment. He is right about the motion capture, the perk balance, and everything. Yeah, that, I didn't see any behind the scenes footage of any motion capturing or anything. So, hopefully they're cooking with a new melee weapon. I won't say the power axe is confirmed. I won't say that. But I do think it's a little bit more likely now that they did add new executions and that we know they're, it's possible. And the melee weapon being in the files, I do think the devs basically give us a cautious estimate of what they are capable of adding into the game, So I genuinely don't think the devs hype themselves up enough. I don't think they should either. I think they should, don't say, hey, we're gonna add a new melee weapon and then 3 months go by and then it's like, that was too much work. We can't do that. Don't do that. That's definitely not the way to do it. I think if a melee weapon is added to the game, everyone's gonna be very surprised. Even though apparently this game was in the intro, this comment is a response to somebody pointing that out. And I just think the devs are doing a good job with the game at the moment. I'm really hoping they don't give us too much information where I feel like, something like a melee weapon being added into the game. Like they're basically saying, just, control your expectations a bit. This melee weapon is not confirmed. So I don't know. I just think they're cooking. Let them cook. And if they don't want to reveal too much about what they're working on, then we are going to be pleasantly surprised when they add it into the game eventually. So, hey, you know what? I'm holding out hope that we will get a new melee weapon. I think it's more likely that we will get a new melee weapon down the line at some point than, at least than I thought was possible like a couple months ago. But yeah, just saying. This is only in the files. They have not confirmed any melee weapons. They specifically said adding a new melee weapon would be a lot of work. So, just control your expectations a bit. But I would love to see this melee weapon. we kind of need to see it. A lot of this is probably stuff they wanted to add into the game but didn't have time because of development crunch. Which, yes, this is a fair point. And I basically agree with this. There's a lot of stuff they are adding into the game after launch. So at the same time, even though there is development crunch, we are giving them a lot of time to add in new content. And I think since the game is doing well, at least well enough for Games Workshop to be impressed with it, I think they basically, since the devs, since they're building up some good faith, they have more time to add this stuff into the game if they want. That's it. Of course, they are on a schedule. So, we will see. Definitely don't hold your breath for a new melee weapon. But yes, that's the thing. If this is stuff that was cut, that means they already kind of had a head start on it, basically, right? It's really nice to see all the additional content this game is getting. Yes. This is also, hold on. I just want to make a point on this. We are more likely to get new stuff when they are done patching old stuff. So, I think what we have now in the game, is really good. The game's probably in the best state it has been in. I know there's going to be a YouTube comment down there talking about how nerfed Invigorating Icon is, but we'll get to that. That's not the full story on how the game is doing right now. I'm having a blast trying out all the new perks and stuff, and the perk rework is not something that I feel like was on the docket when the game launched. You know what I mean? The perk reworks is something that we as a community were able to basically address, and the devs agreed with us. That said, something like a perk rework definitely, you know, it's not like the easiest thing. So they definitely had to go back to perks and, you know, fix them and then go back to where they were. You know, as far as their progress in post-launch content. So when they take time to fix perks, that means something like a melee weapon like this melee weapon that was cut content is a tad bit less likely just due to schedule. So let's do a good job at, you know, making sure our criticisms are accurate, making sure it's not just this full list of things they need to go back and change, because that's when it gets a little out of control, and that's when, you know, new content is pushed back because now they're fixing some random Melta perk or something. So, you know, in the coming weeks, I'm definitely going to try my best to find perks that need to be reworked still, but only the 1 or 2 perks that are absolutely necessary. Because maybe it is only 1 or 2 perks that you know, basically need to be fixed, and won't take away too much time to develop something like a power axe. Now, that said, I'm not a developer. I don't know how this stuff works. I'm just saying this just purely on, you know, my experience in life. Basically, when you're working and you mess up, you have to go back and clean up that mess up and then get back to what you were actually working on. So that's just something that feels like a universal truth. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about this power axe. I would love to see it on Bulwark. Let me know in the comments any thoughts, if there's anything that I missed, or any, you know, maybe any copium on how much easier it would be to add a melee weapon into the game. That would be cool. I would definitely appreciate that, because I would be very, very excited if they added a new melee weapon. I think melee combat in this game is, I'll say it, but I know someone's gonna argue with me. I think melee combat outside of builds or anything, like the core combat system for melee in this game is better than what we see from Software. It is. In my opinion, it is, at least. Yeah, so that's a hot take for the end of the video. I'm sorry if that offended you. It's just my opinion. I do think, you know, I think obviously Space Marines 2 has a, you know, more updated system for it, where From Software is still, you know, they still have their R1 animations and stuff. From Software still has really good melee systems compared to any other game that's on the market, you know, but people are catching up to them. And the fact that I can fight like 50 enemies in front of me, you can't get that in a From Software game. You're gonna get kicked around. So, you know, outside of, you know, core mechanics, you know, no Blasphemous Blade shenanigans here.